Hello and welcome. Today we are going to master 25 really useful words that you might see on big tests. But, just memorizing them is so boring and it doesn't really work. So we're going to try a much better way. We're going to group them by their meaning. This helps your brain make connections, which makes the words way easier to remember, especially if English isn't your first language. So, are you ready? Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan for today. We've got 6 different groups. We'll start with words about people, then talk about creating stuff, then shapes, big events, feelings, and we'll finish up with some really great words for describing things. Seriously, learning like this is a game changer for your memory.
All right, first up, people working together. Think about partners, friends, and even people who are planning something in secret. We're going to look at the little differences between these words that are super important.
Our first word is confederate. A confederate is basically just a partner, an ally. Now, the most important thing to get here is that the word itself doesn't say if the plan is good or bad. It's neutral. A confederate is just someone who's working on a plan with you.
For instance, a spy might have a confederate helping them from the inside. That's kind of sneaky, right? But on the other hand, you and your confederates could plan a huge surprise party for a friend. See? The word just means partner. It doesn't judge the plan.
Now let's look at a similar word, connive. This one is also about planning with someone, but there's a huge difference. When you connive, you are always planning something secret and bad. It's never for a good reason.
So you see the key difference. It's all about the intention. A confederate is just a partner. But if you connive with that partner, it means you're secretly planning to do something you definitely shouldn't be. That negative, sneaky meaning is built right into the word connive.
And to wrap up this section, here are 3 more. A confidant is that one special friend you trust with all your secrets. The verb to confer just means to talk something over, like when your bosses confer about a big decision. And a constituency is the group of people, usually voters, that a politician represents. Okay, we've talked about people working together, so now let's talk about things coming together. This next group of words is all about mixing, joining, and making something totally new. First, concoct. This means to invent something by mixing different parts. You could concoct a new drink recipe, or you could concoct a crazy story to explain why you were late. Then there's consolidate, which is when you combine smaller things to make one bigger, stronger thing, like when 2 small companies join together. And finally, congeal. That's when a liquid gets thick and becomes solid, like when leftover soup gets cold in the fridge.
Now here's a word you probably already know, or you think you know, concert. What's cool about this word is that its main idea of togetherness is used in 2 really different ways.
So the first meaning is simply working together. If 2 people act in concert, it just means they're cooperating. And the second meaning, the one we all know, is a musical performance, where a bunch of musicians all play together. So both meanings really come from that same idea of a combined effort. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, let's switch gears and get a little more visual. Our third group of words will help us talk about all the different shapes, patterns, and structures that we see around us.
All right, so concave means something curves inward, like a bowl. And here's an awesome trick to remember it. Concave has the word cave in it, and it curves in like the entrance to a cave. Next, concentric circles all share the same center point. Just imagine dropping a pebble in a pond. Those ripples are concentric circles. Configuration is just a fancy word for the setup. You know, how all the parts are arranged, like the configuration of your phone settings. And a continuum is something that continues without any clear breaks, like a rainbow. It just smoothly goes from one color to the next.
Next up is a really practical group of words. These are all about specific actions and events. And we're going to cover everything from huge disasters to tiny, awkward mistakes.
First, we have concede. To concede is to admit that you've lost. You'll hear this a lot after an election, when the losing candidate will concede to the winner. Then there's consign, which means to give something to someone else to take care of or sell for you. For example, you might consign your old clothes to a secondhand store. And contraband refers to illegal goods, the kind of stuff that security is looking for at the airport. Now, for a really big, powerful word, conflagration. This is not for your little campfire. A conflagration is a massive, out-of-control, destructive fire, the kind that can burn down a whole forest or a city block. It's all about being huge and dangerous.
And now, we're going to go from a giant disaster to a tiny one. I think this contrast makes both words easy to remember. A contretemps is just a small, awkward, or embarrassing little accident. So a conflagration destroys a city, but a contretemps is just, accidentally spilling your drink on someone at a party. Big versus very, very small.
Okay, let's move away from the outside world and go inside our own heads. This next group of words is all about our feelings, our thoughts, and our ideas.
First is compunction. That's that awful feeling of guilt or regret you get after you've done something you know is wrong. Then there's contempt. This is a really strong, negative feeling of disrespect. It's when you look at someone or something and think it's completely worthless. And finally, to confound someone is to confuse them so badly that they just have no idea what to think or what to do next.
We are almost there. For our last group, we've got some fantastic words that will help you describe things with more detail and make your English sound amazing.
Let's start with a super useful one, conspicuous. And the absolute easiest way to remember what it means? It just means easy to see. So, to be conspicuous is to really stand out and grab people's attention, whether you mean to or not. If you wear a bright orange jacket to a formal event where everyone else is in black, you are going to be very, very conspicuous.
And our last three words. A conservatory can mean two different things. It can be a special school for music and art, or it can be a room made of glass for growing plants, kind of like a greenhouse. The word conjugal is a more formal word that just means related to marriage. And finally, concomitant. This describes something that naturally happens at the same time as something else. For example, a fever is often a concomitant symptom of the flu. And there you have it. That's our list. By grouping these 25 words into themes, you've built strong connections in your brain to help you remember them. Keep practicing and you'll be a master of these words in no time.